are almost live, baby. I think we're live. Are we live?
I don't know. I can't see from behind this pallet.
Always.
Huh? Oh, okay. No?
That is an example of the dry, and I love it. I do love it. What are we talking about tonight?
Well,
Tonight's is a weird night to do it.
might not be anybody around, but that's okay.
I know.
A lot of technical issues from solar storms one night. Then evidently there was a local car wreck took out fiber optics. So that ruined the last one.
And oddly, we had half of our electricity and just half of our house went out, and it was the half that runs the internet. It's been crazy.
Yeah. So all back in order.
All back in order, ready to roll.
And we're going to change nights though. 2 nights a week.
Yes, that's right.
And we're going to do Wednesdays and Sundays?
No, Saturdays.
Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay.
It just works better for our life right now.
Same time zone.
Yeah, same time
frame.
6 p.m.
Wednesdays, Saturdays.
And obviously we have a lot of people that reach out and aren't able to watch live. Hello, Emperor Franz Joseph. But that's okay because you can watch it when I had people say they watch it while they get ready in the morning or while they're on their way to work. They listen to it. So wherever or whenever you're watching this, we want to hear from you. Leave comments. Make sure to like. And if you don't subscribe, we would love if you would. Speaking of subscribers, we did something a few weeks ago saying that we would what?
Oh, after much consultation with our legal team.
Yes.
And it is a vast team.
It's a vast team.
They are not cheap.
They are expensive.
Anyway, we announced that we were going to, once we hit 200 subscribers, that we would do a mushroom trip live.
Right.
The legal team says
no go.
We should not do that.
And
let's be honest, didn't get a lot of traction out of that anyway.
Yeah.
And I personally prefer not doing that live. I mean, we would do it tastefully and
yes, of course, but
educationally and things like that. But
I totally agree. It's something very, very personal and sacred. And I was honestly having a little bit of like, again, it would have been completely respectful and done tastefully, but.
Well, and we'd like to not get swatted up in here.
Yeah, we don't want the SWAT team
I'm saying?
Show. Yeah.
So
anyway,
it's not like didn't seem like there was a
huge
hot to trot excitement about it anyway.
No, people were like, "Are you serious? I can't wait to watch that," but not in a good way.
Legal team's like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah. Psst, psst, psst. We can't do that. So tonight, what are we talking about?
Talking about thinking about thinking.
Right.
AKA meta-cognition.
Right. And what is meta-cognition? Is there like a easy definition for those who don't know? That's kind of not a word you hear every day. Meta-cognition. Obviously, cognition, we know what that means, but
real simplified version.
Yeah.
Thinking about your thinking.
Right.
But why is the question, right? Why do that?
Right.
Why is it important in a day and age when there is an onslaught of information coming from every direction? And how to decipher, receive, work through that information into implementation of your life? Or do you wait? I mean, there's so many reasons why we need to be able to emotionally mature way think about thinking.
Well, and I think part of our deconstruction of old world views includes the ability to do that, includes metacognition and
100%.
Just being able to think critically about things and not being so closed off to, immediately saying, nope, I don't believe that, or nope, that's not true, or, and I believe a lot of that is due to fear, I would say, of, well, shoot, if that's true, I already messed up, or shoot, if that's true,
Well, let's be honest. A lot of our opinions, what we hold to be true or otherwise, are emotion driven. They're emotionally driven. And without metacognition, it's hard to think about your own emotions and why you're thinking that way and why you're responding that way. There's a lot to do with, past background, things like that. But at some point you've got to be able to think through those things. Why am I feeling this? Why am I so adamant about this being true? And the reason we say, whether it's conspiracy theories.
I was just going to say, I think that we should mention that although this podcast isn't about conspiracy theories, we are referring to some of those, not specifically, and not to convince anyone of anything, but just the fact that because something is labeled a conspiracy theory, I think a lot of people instantly are like, nope, I'm not going to listen, or I'm not going to let anybody know that maybe I secretly believe this.
Yeah, and now as time has passed, there are things that were labeled that,
right,
4, 5, 6 years ago, where more information has come out.
That they were true.
And, there's a lot of truth in it. It's either all true, partially true, maybe still not true. But the point is, time is what it takes.
Right.
Whether you're watching a news report today about what's going on in the streets of Minneapolis or Portland or any other scenario, incidents that take place.
Right.
And given the challenge with technology, are you 100% certain that what you're seeing is true? Are you 100% certain what you're hearing is true? Or are you simply having an emotional whiplash opinion?
Right. Because and I think a lot of times our opinions in those moments are based on what it makes us feel, the emotion. So if it makes us feel good, then yes, I believe it. If it doesn't make us feel good, then I don't believe it. Yeah. Instead of just giving it time to rest and come to fruition or not. So is it, because the truth always reveals itself, whether it's personal or worldwide,
whether we like it
or not. Yeah.
And that's the challenge, right? I got a quote.
Okay.
Says, you must always be willing to truly consider evidence that contradicts your beliefs and admit the possibility that you may be wrong. Intelligence isn't knowing everything. It's the ability to challenge everything you know.
Yes. And that is part of the awakening journey, I believe. I even wrote that on one of our posts promoting tonight's episode, that it's, thinking about thinking, a journey to awakening. It is part of it. And being willing to have a mind open enough to consider. It doesn't mean you have to believe it. It doesn't, because you may not in the end, but at least considering something, which is something we've talked about a lot throughout our episodes.
Well, retraining ourselves to be more emotionally mature, to where we're not so divisive, to where we're
or programmable,
divided, divisive. You can have a conversation, not agree, and it's up to the individual whether they have the emotional maturity or ability to question everything they believe to be true and hold a space on what I call the brain shelf to, reconsider information that you may not have thought of before, or you've grown up your entire life thinking a certain way. So if you change a particular thought process or belief, then it yanks the rug out from underneath your entire worldview and existence. Those are challenging things. It's not easy, but that's thinking about thinking. That's metacognition. For instance, 5, 6 years ago, why was something called a conspiracy theory? What was the result of it being called a conspiracy theory? And now all these people that were so adamant about it then, I remember going to a wedding and there were folks, this was in the heat of it, 2020, and folks didn't want us around their baby because we didn't get the
vaccine,
jabbity Jew.
Yeah.
And so years later, more information comes out, and perhaps it was the other way around.
Right.
It's silly. And so,
well, it was and divisive, so divisive, because then that causes, this friction between, I'm sure there was friction.
Sure.
Was there at that particular instance? Because it makes you uncomfortable. You're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or what I'm not supposed to do. And that person's angry and thinks you're wrong. you know.
And there's a lot of different topics like that.
Yes.
That's just one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be politics. It could be religion. It could be spirituality.
Food.
It could be, diet and health and nutrition.
Yep.
It can be divisive in everything because people, for some reason, and I'm guilty of it in the past. I don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to not have emotionally strong reactions to where I'm immediately ostracizing, or worse, somebody else for a different opinion.
Right.
I want to be somebody that can sit with new information, regardless of how it strikes me at first or not, and let it ruminate. Let it reveal itself over time, whether that's me doing specific research myself,
Yeah.
or whether information just comes out over time through disclosure or otherwise. I want to be
Yes.
that person. And
I think to be careful not to just blindly believe what just makes you comfortable.
Right.
Because that is not it. That's not being informed.
No, it gives me...
That's the easy route.
People, especially with our social media and things today, technology, whether it's AI, videos you're watching, what you're being told, there is a lot going on. How do you field that information? How do you, especially with all of us so busy, trying to take care of ourselves, our families, pay bills, work, things like that. I get and empathize with being in a time of your life where you have no time to do any research, or at least as much as you'd like.
We rely on others to do it for us.
I mean, where you're getting after it, you're coming home, you're eating something, going to bed, and getting up the next day and doing it again. I've been there. And so, but in those downtimes, what are you looking at? I mean, you need downtime.
Yeah.
If you're in another, which, back in 2020, they gave a lot of us a lot of time to think and consider, which I think backfired.
Yeah, because it gave people time to actually focus on the important things. And
I was looking at actuarial numbers and death rates over the last several years, and because things weren't adding up. So, here's another example, right? And this has to do with technologies. Widespread bot-driven content on social media. What contributes to what's considered the dead internet theory, the internet feeling kind of dead. Widespread bot-driven content on social media. Around 2020 to 2021, ideas that much of online content, comments, trends, things like that, was bot-generated to manipulate discourse. They were dismissed as tech paranoia, right?
Right, because I remember that time a lot of people were like, this can't be real. These have to be fake accounts. These have to be fake comments or fake followers. How is it overnight that this person has 100,000 followers more than they did yesterday, or all these comments?
Right.
And it turned out to be true.
And so by 2023 to 2025, reports from Imperva, IMPERVA, and Google showed bot traffic at 49 to 50.
And what I read is that, and you even said part of that, but they were intentionally causing discord, and intentionally causing, us against each other, pitting people against each other, and causing anger. And we're gonna plug in your mic a little bit.
Breaker 19.
Nope, you gone. There you go.
Back.
We knock these mics sometimes.
I didn't knock it.
I know, but
I don't know why
we do.
It.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
49 to 52% of web activity being from Imperva and Google, showing that it's bot activity, which is crazy to think about, right? As well as AI scraping and fake engagement confirmed in elections and trends, validating the dead feel of the internet.
Interesting.
That's just one example, right? Because how many of us are actually questioning some popular account or some crazy account or vitriolic account or whatever, and thinking, okay, 52% of this is probably just bots, driving vitriol and anger and frustration, or the other way around.
Well, and what is called rage bait, which I just learned about, you remember, from Mary the other day, but They create rage bait, creating
Oh, right.
discord. Like I said, it's
Right.
crazy, and it works because we've probably all been guilty of getting drawn into that garbage.
Yeah.
I definitely have, especially back during those times. Especially, they were really bad. I think they were way more prevalent. Do you think it's still that 50%? Is that what they're saying?
Who knows? I would love to see a newer report. That was through 2025.
Yeah.
But I can't see how it's not. I mean, watching patterns and trends, I believe that it's just my opinion, but whether it's a particular area of the country, whether it's a city, whether it's several city blocks, whether it's an entire country, I believe there are PSYOP organizations, perhaps, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I believe those are instruments of a Sun Tzu art of war kind of a scenario.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. Or they're used to bring disclosure to areas that a lot of us should think more about.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of tonight's episode is just food for thought. Don't be so quick to shut something down that you hear or that you, and I'm not saying to obsess over it either, because I think there's a fine balance between obsessing over it and then just ignoring it completely. I think both can be poison because anything in excess is poison. And so, yeah, I think that's the point, is just to also live and be in the moment and not, we don't obsess over the things that we've heard or that we believe even that are, pretty crazy. They might seem crazy at first, but they've proven to be true. We don't sit around obsessing over those things, but we just are, it's always here and we know that they're possible. Like if I hear something, I now, unlike maybe 10 years ago, will say, I think I'm definitely going to consider that. I don't dismiss things anymore because so much has been proven to be true. And I want to be aware enough to, allow that thought into my mind and ponder it, I guess.
We wanted to talk a bit about practicality. How do you actually do that? It's a process of working through your own emotions. What causes your emotions to trigger, flare up, how you respond to particular things. But if you're simply walking through life, listening to and then responding to things with no thought as to why you feel the way you do about that particular topic or subject, and consequently how it makes you respond to it, then you're missing the mark of figuring out how to be emotionally mature and field more information, because it's really about intelligence. I mean, everybody wants to be intelligent.
Yeah.
But we define intelligence in different ways. And I don't personally define intelligence as somebody who can memorize a lot of information and articulate it at any given time whatsoever. It's, I may not care to retain a lot of information. I care to retain information on things that I care about.
Yeah.
But there are some things I don't care about. Doesn't mean I can't appreciate somebody else caring about it and knowing a lot about it. And I can learn from them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there are some things that don't motivate me to do that. And so I was like that all through school. If I didn't like the subject or topic, it was just a slog for me. It was boring as can be. But if I did well at it. So what is intelligence then? Right? How would you define that? And so
the discernment.
I pulled up a couple of individuals that are considered some of the leading experts on what intelligence actually is, right?
Okay.
So cognition, mental cognition, is the set of mental processes involved in acquiring, processing, storing, retrieving, and using knowledge and information. That's cognition. So that's everything we're talking about. What are you hearing in social media? What are you hearing from your friend? What are you hearing from your family? What are you reading? It is that process involved in acquiring, processing, storing, retrieving, and using knowledge as information. So once you receive something, how do you integrate that into your life? Or should you?
Right.
Right? That process is cognition. What do you do with that? It encompasses how we perceive the world, think, learn, remember, reason, solve problems, make decisions, understand language, and respond to our environment. So this is all encompassing. It's about everything we deal with on a daily basis. Your cognition, how you make those processes take place through your own thinking, is important.
Do you think, I know that we've heard even recently from people we love that they're frustrated. They just want to know the truth because there's so many things coming at them, coming at all of us, you know, from all the different directions. And it can be really hard to just stand there and go, I don't know what to believe. I don't know what the truth is. I want to get to the bottom of it. And what are your thoughts on that? I have thoughts on it too.
Well, to be in a rush or to need something now or in a hurry presupposes some element of fear, probably.
I was going to say that. I
Right?
think so too.
What are you fearful of?
If you don't.
If you don't get this thing understood and right
Yeah.
now, what are your consequences?
Yeah.
Or in this lifetime, for example, what are the consequences? If you live in that fear, it prevents you from being able to hold and sit with something until you have time to research it more to your own satisfaction.
I agree. I also think that it's fear mixed with frustration of feeling like I've been lied to for my entire life. I'm now in my whatever, you know, whatever age. It can be frustrating. It can feel even angering, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that because we may never know certain things. They may never, in our lifetime, we may never get to the bottom of it, right? Whatever it may be.
There are certainly those things. I mean, there are grand cosmic questions that we can think we have answers to, but
that may change.
nobody probably really does.
Right. And that needs to, I think we have to come to a point of that being okay.
But the point of that, okay, not only okay, but very fascinating and interesting and fun to think about and talk about. When you slice the fear out of it and put that away, realizing if I don't figure this out, I'm damned for eternity. When you don't live in that place or something similar on any given topic, I get it. They want you fearful about your health. They want you fearful about politics and where the world. They want you fearful about civil unrest. They want you fearful about nukes or
whatever it might be. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, fear is one of the lowest frequencies that there is. It's the most
right.
It's the most easy to manipulate
and creates the most divisiveness.
Right. Yeah.
Division, I would say as well, but which is where you also get the term cognitive dissonance. So my understanding of that is where you hear something, you've already got a set of firm beliefs. You're not questioning everything. You've got, your set beliefs because everything that you've built in your life around that.
Right.
Your personality, your persona, your family, your friends, your relatives,
Everything.
Your workplace, your support system. You let go of that. You question that, and it could unravel everything.
It feels like your very foundation is crumbling, and now what do I have to stand on?
And sometimes it does. And those that have lived through that can attest to the fact that on the other side of that
is peace
it's
and
beautiful,
freedom.
and it's okay, and you'll make it.
And it's not actually the foundation you thought it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, definition of metacognition.
Okay.
Okay. Metacognition is thinking about thinking. It refers to awareness of and control over one's own cognitive process. So some of us just hear something, see something, emotionally respond, or non-emotional, just hear it, see it.
Yeah.
But metacognition is thinking about the process that you're going through on what you're seeing or hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then how it affects you or makes you feel.
And do you think, because I believe when I hear something, it goes through the filter of my inner standing, my inner knowing, my intuition. And what is the difference between intuition and fear? Because those are both, can both feel maybe similar to some people at first when you're learning to decipher the difference. And fear is an emotion of panic. Intuition is peaceful. You know, your intuitive feelings aren't typically panic. So when you're feeling that, it's probably not intuitive.
Well, and your intuition may give you insight into something that is a potential
hazard or
risk.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
But you feel there is a difference, and especially the more you strengthen that muscle within you, that gift that we all have. I think, of course, women especially have it, but men have it too. The inner standing within. We all have the ability to tap into that and grow it and strengthen it.
Well, and I think one misconception is, I think it's Aaron Tipton that sang the song. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I'm not going to sing it with you this time.
You know, you got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Yes. Are you going to go on?
You got to be your own man, not a puppet on a string. That one?
Yeah.
Well, there's some good...
That'll cost you extra, so our Venmo will be up.
I mean, there's some good principles there, right? But metacognition helps you to... Because there's such a divisiveness.
Well, the divisiveness within that way of thinking is you have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. That's what we're taught.
Right.
Like, so your foundation needs to be strong, which your foundation is strong, but it's not what you think or why you think it's strong.
Right. And it's divisive to say that if you don't, I keep saying, plant your flag on this particular belief system, then the only other result is you're going to fall for anything.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
It is. Absolutely.
It's not. And that's what happens in the divisiveness of thinking is if you, in a meta-cognitive sort of way, are open and question everything, then you don't stand for anything.
It's not
also
true.
An either or bullshit statement.
Yeah, black or white, red or blue.
Right?
It's all the same.
So, and we don't want to be fools, you know, and it's hard when you've stood on something firmly for so long and then all of a sudden receive more information or think differently. You're like, shit.
Well, it can be scary, especially when we're talking about worldview. That can be, we've talked about this maybe in the last episode, but that can be a scary thing to go, oh my God, I've dedicated my entire life to this. I raised my children in this. All of it. And then now I'm maybe questioning it, some of it, all of it. I don't know. That's maybe frightening for a lot of people, especially in the beginning stages. Like, I remember having the thought, seeing other people wake up and going, I'll never do that. I'll never do what they're doing, judging what they were doing and really not knowing. And then when I myself kind of just had this moment of realization of deconstructing and the peace that came over me and that's the best word I can use, is just peace and clarity, even with not knowing everything and with not being clear on everything. That's not what I mean, but just a clarity of mind of not feeling like I need to know everything or I need to convince everybody else of what I'm feeling. You know, there was no need to feel like I was somebody's savior.
No. Well, and here's the thing, right? It's a people who, and I've been there, understand the thinking, don't think the same way anymore, but people who say, well, you know, if you can't point to this book or these books as the objective, infallible truth,
right,
then anarchy, then there's no objective truth.
Well, then where are you getting your information?
Right. Or you know, this history is the pure line of history, and these church fathers and what they said in the church councils and the bishops that have followed them and the books they said are canonical and the ones they tossed. You know, if you don't adhere to that and bow and kiss the hand of the ring, then chaos.
Right.
It's bullshit.
It's actually the opposite.
Because here's what's actually happening. Regardless of what denomination or religion or spirituality or faith, whatever it is, what's actually happening in each one of those instances is that individual person is choosing on their own sovereign authority to submit to that belief system.
Yeah.
There's no getting away from that. You can choose to say, yes, these are infallible. Yes, this is the absolute truth. And anything else is chaos or wrong or pagan or idolatrous.
Mm-hmm.
But there are millions of others who think differently. So in the end, it's still your sovereign choice to believe that way.
Yeah.
Because of what? I don't know. That's your metacognitive need to think through. Why do you think that way? Why aren't you capable of questioning that like millions of others do? What are you scared of?
Right.
Are you
That's
scared of missing the
ultimately
mark and being eternally damned? Are you scared it's going to blow up your family and you're going to lose everything? Some of those things are possible, right? But it's your authority that you're choosing that particular denomination, that particular faith, that particular way of thinking about politics or economics or
whatever.
It's you making that authority. So what we're really getting at is, how can we make a more intelligent, mature choice about how to live, how to think, how to interact with others? That's metacognition.
Yeah.
That's being able to question everything and having the humility to admit when you're wrong.
This is a good question. Why do you think certainty feels, and I put certainty because why do you think certainty feels safer than curiosity for most people?
Well, it's certainly easier if you say, oh, I'm down with that, and don't have to do any further research, reading, understanding, questioning, no longer have to feel insecure or unsafe.
So it's way easier.
It's easier.
For instance, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, quote unquote, around the medical industry, let's say. We won't go into them, but I highly suggest that you look them up, research them for yourself. But it is so often you hear, I'm going to believe the doctors, they're the experts, because that's easier. That's way easier and safer. And then you are without, your hands are not dirty if you make the wrong choice, right? Or if you make the wrong decision on a health, a decision you need to make for your health or somebody else's. Don't you think it's an easier choice?
Well, now as time's passed, it's been disclosed that there are other motives, other reasons. And it's not that you're saying, don't believe your doctor.
No.
But if you have metacognition and emotional maturity, you can listen to all sources, not just the expert doctor,
right,
or the pharmaceutical companies.
Who only get paid when you're sick, by the way.
But you can also consider alternatives, plant medicines and things like that, because where in the hell did it all come from in the first place?
Yes.
Right? Just because you can't patent and make a buck off of things that are naturally grown in the ground doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Yeah. So
that's just one example.
Just to not be quick to refuse something, to refuse it as truth or possibly truth.
Right. And so that's going back to this definition. It refers to awareness of and control over one's own cognitive process, including knowledge about cognition, understanding your strengths, weaknesses as a thinker or a learner, right? I want to be a learner.
I want to be both a thinker and a learner.
Yeah. And regulation of cognition,
I'm way
planning
better.
strategies, monitoring progress, evaluating outcomes, and adjusting approaches when needed. In essence, it's the ability to observe, reflect on, and manage your own mental process. And I would say one of the biggest obstacles to that is your own emotional maturity.
Yes. And this is so good for not just conspiracy theories or other ways of thinking. This is good for relationships. This is good. This is important for every aspect of our lives holistically. This is good for our, body, mind, and soul overall. It's not just thinking.
Now we have
about thinking.
One of the great opportunities I've had in my life is to travel to other countries when I was working for a company doing our supply chain and various other things. And I met some beautiful people in other countries, certainly lived differently, thought differently, different cultures.
Different religion.
And These are beautiful people, and there was a lot to be learned. And when you cut yourself off from questioning everything for whatever reason, fear or otherwise,
Yeah.
you can easily miss out on some really beautiful people and experiences and journey in your own life, for fear of damnation or whatever it is that prevents you from doing so.
And I think it's not just damnation, from a worldview perspective, but it's just the fear of being wrong. Because I think it's so ingrained in us we want to be right. We don't want to mess it up,
Yeah, and you gotta get over that
You
shit.
so do.
Because we all mess it up sometimes. And when you do, you just simply have to own that shit.
Yeah, we all mess up.
So one of the ones I was telling you about, there's two professionals that talk about metacognition and intelligence in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in general. They're very specific about their studies. Robert Sternberg on metacognition. He's a key figure in intelligence research. Has long emphasized metacognition as a critical component of intelligence. He describes it as higher order metacomponents that direct and regulate other cognitive activities. So being able to think about your own thinking.
Yes.
Creates a higher order of response and integration of information, which we certainly need in the times we're living in.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeing something on the news or otherwise and having an immediate emotional reaction. Let it sit. Let's see what other information comes out. Let's see what other news comes out. Do some of your own research before you just
let your thoughts go wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, we've talked about that with Eckhart Tolle and Alan Watts. They refer to that type of thing that goes along with their philosophies. I love that. Just being aware of our thoughts and not grabbing onto them right away and thinking they're truth.
Yeah, like that.
Because they're not always.
That one you like where he's talking about your thoughts are like a highway with passing cars.
I always think of
and
the
you're
highway.
Watching them go by. You should be watching them go by. If your thoughts are a highway of passing cars and you're just...
And you grab onto the bumper of one.
And let it drag you for...
It's going to kill you, ultimately. Right. It's going to hurt you.
You should be thinking about watching your thoughts.
Yeah.
You should be thinking about you're the one that's observing your own thoughts. You are not those thoughts.
Exactly. Especially at night. I noticed that at night is when I'm really having to do that because you know how when you lay down, your brain sometimes is just not turning off.
Yeah.
And I think of things and I think these are not my thoughts.
Yeah, and there's some real practical ways to breathe through that.
Yes,
and
box breathing.
Back
Highly
into
recommend.
A place of peace instead of mind just worrying nonstop.
Sometimes I come up to Jay and I tell him I need to do some breathing. Will you breathe with me? And we do box breaths together, and it really does help actually. And it's a meditative state, and it's so much better at the end. You're like, okay, I'm good. I actually did some today.
Well, in the practice of actually focusing on your breathing,
yes,
it clears the thoughts.
It does. It clears the thoughts. It's so good.
So in Models of Intelligence, this is Sternberg. In Models of Intelligence, he argues that true intelligence involves recognizing their strengths and making the most of them, at the same time that they recognize their weaknesses and find ways to correct or compensate for them. Right?
So recognizing our own strengths and our own weaknesses.
Right.
I like that.
And I would submit that probably one place to start considering your own weaknesses is what emotionally triggers you. Why, if you hear something or see something, why is it triggering such a staunch or heightened emotional response?
What is that background programming that you need to address?
Right.
Like I heard this today, like it's no different than on a computer. There's always programs running in the background. It's the same with us.
Right.
And we have to, and they affect our ego, our way of thinking. We have to recognize, okay, what is that that's running in the background that's making me feel this way?
Right.
I think that's really good.
He views metacognition as essential for developing expertise and successful real-world functioning, noting it bridges raw abilities with practical applications. So, successful living, basically. I mean, it's really going back to Aaron Tipton, latching on to something can really diminish.
Aaron Tipton, this country singer?
You got to stand.
Okay.
That one.
Yeah.
You know, it can really, really diminish or thwart the ability to function in real world applications or gain expertise in something, because that thought process that you've latched onto and you're standing for, or whatever it may be.
It becomes your identity and your ego. And
Right.
this is so good. It says, is the ego more attached to being awake or being right?
Yes.
Isn't that good?
For sure.
Yeah, it's more attached to being right.
Yeah, and why?
And why?
Why do you?
Because it's safe. It feels safe to think and feel like you're right. Until you release that and realize actually the safety is in you feel the most peace and the most at ease, which is the same thing, I guess. But when you are willing to hear other perspectives and not let it affect who you are.
Well, and maybe you are right about something, and the one you're listening to is batshit crazy. I mean, that happens.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
But does it have to emotionally
charge you
to the point of divisiveness or blowing up your nervous system? I mean, in that scenario, just like, hey, those aren't my people, or that's not my person.
Or I know that with someone we love, not too long ago, I had, we disagreed on something, and I don't even remember what it was at this point, because it doesn't matter. And I said, I respectfully disagree, and that's okay. And her response is, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I love you still.
Yeah.
Because it does not have to divide us or ruin a relationship. It shouldn't. I think there still needs to be room for learning and growing in that. And perhaps their minds will change, or perhaps they won't, or mine might or not. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It isn't my job to change anybody's mind. I don't feel that with anybody I love. There are people that I love dearly and the most that I disagree with some things maybe in their lives, but it doesn't change my mind on my love for them or the relationship I desire to have.
Not having the emotional stability to hear somebody else's thoughts, and perhaps you've already been over that information or that topic and thought through exactly what they're saying, and you're like, no, I've been there, I've moved on. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's also okay for them to be in a place where they should consider, hey, been there, thought about that, here's why I don't think that way anymore. That should be okay for them.
Yeah.
So forth and so on, as opposed to this is a deal breaker.
Right.
Sometimes it is, and that's usually the deal breaker is usually about somebody who can't hold space with you to consider a conversation.
Yep.
That's really where it's emotional more than it is informational. Because if you're in a place or a position where you can consider different information about any given topic whatsoever and still respect that other person as a human being, then when that scenario breaks down, it usually has more to do with emotion and ego than it does the actual information itself.
Well, look at the reaction. Like, I think back on 2020 and some pretty bold stands that we both took during that time, and for humanity, not for a red or blue side, not for a Christian or non-Christian side, none of that. It was for humanity.
Sovereign human.
For sovereignty amongst humans, period. But I was, told that, people were sending me death threats, telling me that they hope I die, they hope my family die. I mean, the vitriol, the anger, the seething anger that came from my sovereign perspective, my very own perspective that I was not trying to place on anyone, but I was just trying to educate and really stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves at the time. It's amazing the divisiveness that it can cause. Does and still, whether it be something like that, which a lot of people thought was political, and it shouldn't have been. They made it that way. Or whether it's religion, worldview, if, you don't believe the way I do, then we can't be friends or we can't be family.
Yeah.
It can be anything. The divisiveness does not need to be there. It does not need to exist when we disagree.
It's egoic emotion. It's usually not about the information. If the ego and emotion are mature and in check, then the data, the information, the perspectives should be able to be discussed in a calm manner while respecting the other human. Mm-hmm. It's when the egoic emotions rise that it all breaks down.
Yeah. It just applies to so many things, not just conspiracy theories, but really to life, to everything. All of life, to relationships, to politics, to religion, all of it.
It's everything. And it's what these two gentlemen, the next one is Anil Seth, Aniseth. To these two gentlemen, they're submitting that it is the essence of intelligence to be able to do what they're talking about here in meta-cognition. Mm-hmm. Without that, I mean, there is a dumbing down. If this is intelligent, if some of the, and we're just submitting this as I like what they're saying. Mm-hmm. If we're submitting that being able to perform this metacognition on a regular basis in our lives, have emotional maturity, and that being intelligence, then the opposite is egoic emotional immaturity that's drawing a line in the sand and being vitriolic and bashing people about a different opinion. We should be able to talk about anything. It doesn't mean we're going to have no emotions whatsoever, but you need to have the emotional maturity to check that. And you need to have the intelligence to think about your own thinking during those times, or even in peaceful times.
Mm-hmm. Do you think not everyone is ready for a conversation? And I think that's also okay.
Right.
If you're awakening to something or discovering something that you believe to be true and want to seek more, not everyone's ready for you to come to them and say, look at this. So do you think we should wait for them to ask, if ever? Because it's not, a relationship shouldn't depend on that, right? We agree on that. So what are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people will say, you're crazy.
Well,
you sound Looney Tunes.
That certainly happened, and that was a hard lesson I've learned a few times, whether it's moving through one denomination to the next, or, finally at the end, leaving the Eastern Orthodox Church,
right.
Moving out of, of structured corporate Christianity sort of thing, mm-hmm. East or West. You get to where you realize it is not my job to change somebody else's mind. And if you seek to have a discussion with someone, like I did in 2020, on hey, here's what's coming down the pike. This doesn't make any sense to me based on our beliefs and our practices. Here's the actuarials that I'm seeing, and the information's not adding up with what they're telling us. What does that mean for us? Mm-hmm. If the response to that isn't doesn't seem logical, doesn't seem free, doesn't seem sovereign, doesn't seem right to you, it doesn't mean that it's then my job to drive a stake in that person's eye.
Do you think it's tempting to sometimes, just naturally? It can be because you just are like, don't you see?
Yeah, which is also ego.
Yeah.
And emotional immaturity.
Absolutely.
It can happen both ways.
100%, yeah.
And so if you present something to someone and it comes across that way,
yeah,
then internally tell yourself, okay, this person's not ready for this particular conversation. Depending on the conversation and how that does or doesn't affect the relationship on their part, it may be something where you're like, okay.
Do you think that's why this just came to me, thinking that that's maybe one of the reasons when they say when people are awakening, deconstructing, that relationships will end? Do you think that's why it's ego ultimately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ego can go both ways.
Yes.
The emotional immaturity, pride, and ego can go both ways. It could be somebody, I'm awakening and I've got some of this figured out.
Yeah, I'm so awake and you're not.
My God, why can't you see? What is your problem?
Yeah, it can absolutely go both ways.
From the other side, you've lost your ever-loving mind. What the hell are you talking about?
And you're going to hell.
And either one of those are emotional immaturity and ego.
Yes. Agreed. And we're all guilty of it. at some point, for
and
sure.
I want to learn to not do that.
Do you think do you think that truth seeking can become an identity? What are your thoughts on that? I think I said this earlier today, or asked this.
Well, it's one thing to say, I want the truth across the board, period. That's okay to say. Also, through experience or otherwise, realizing the truth may smack you upside the head with a lot of your own thinking and beliefs, and you need to be ready for that, because the truth isn't easy, but it will set you free. It isn't always easy. It's easier to live in ignorance sometimes, because
it's very much easier. That's what I agree with that completely.
Doesn't mean that things aren't happening to you in a detrimental way in your ignorance. It just means you're oblivious to it, which is the state of,
or choosing to not. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to see it.
Yeah.
You're choosing not to face it because it is easier not to.
Yeah.
For
a
some.
relentless pursuit of truth, regardless of where you hear it, presupposes the ability to question everything and have intelligent metacognition about your own thoughts and thinking, as well as being emotionally mature and figuring out where your ego jumps in when it shouldn't.
I think to stay grounded is very important, literally and figuratively.
Bare feet on the grass.
Bare feet on the ground.
Eyes in the sun gaze.
But I think of your mom, actually. We talked to her. There's some of my favorite talks. It's like having a slumber party because we stay on the phone for hours into the night, and it's so fun. But I loved this last conversation we had, and she had just come in from grounding and sun gazing, and her experience sounded beautiful. And I thought, I love hearing those stories and other people's experiences and how we know it's so beneficial. But I'd love to ask her what she would have thought of herself doing that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know me 10 years ago would have thought, what are you doing?
Woo woo.
Woo woo. But what has happened? Science has proven that woo woo is real. Just like, for instance, crystals. We believe in ultrasounds and MRIs, which are powered by crystals and among other things, but we believe in those. But if you wear one around your neck, you're probably a witch, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that we're instantly closed off because they make us uncomfortable, because we affiliate them with maybe something that we think is wrong. And then science comes out and all of a sudden, oh, it's okay, which is a good thing. I mean, it's wonderful that it can be proven through science, but it does take time.
Well, it's
not instant.
We can believe and enjoy and have no problem with and be thankful for Wi-Fi on a daily basis.
Right, that we can't see.
But have a problem with the potentiality of there being actually telepathy between two people.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, if you really stop and think about what that is.
Same.
it's silly.
Yeah.
Right. But it's again, metacognition and emotional maturity and ego. How do you
keeping those things in check?
Right. And how do you do that? That's really what it amounts to. And so, again, I like the way these two individuals come at it through intelligence, because nobody wants to be dumb. Nobody wants to be unintelligent, and how do they define intelligence? That's what we're talking about. And I'm reading this thinking, I want to be more like this. I recognize areas and places that I'm not. I recognize how some areas and places I've implemented these things, and I want to implement them more,
I just was thinking about something that viewers may be asking themselves or thinking during this time is like, how do we know what's truth? Especially, we all have, a plethora of information in our hands at all times. We could look up anything, but how do you know what you're looking up is true? How do you know that it's not AI? How do you know that it's not propaganda? And that's a very valid question, but I think that goes back to, because you have intuition, you have inner standing, not understanding, but inner within. It's a real thing. You have a compass within you. And if you'll feel it, you will just feel it. And especially the more that you strengthen that, like I've already said, but that's it. That's it.
Well, depending on the subject matter, there are times I feel that strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times, depending on the subject, there are times where I'm still questioning.
Yeah.
Because I can feel a certain way about something and continue to feel that certain way about something. And again, it's the right brain, the left brain analytical parsing,
right.
Dividing things out so that you can logically understand and explain. And the right brain, intuitive, artistic, they both have to work together. And sometimes I can feel something and I haven't spent the time or don't have the data yet to back up what I'm feeling.
Right.
In a right brain sort of way. Sometimes I can read data or look at something and something about it still doesn't feel right to me, although it looks logical.
Right.
Right. And so metacognition being the ability to hold those things until it integrates, until it feels right, until it sounds right, until there's more information for the left side to match up with the right side and vice versa.
I know that I have struggled with certain people that we sometimes listen to that give great information, really detailed, in-depth information, and just make you think. And there's one gentleman in particular that uses language that does something to me because of my own background
what
noise.
language is that? What do you mean language?
Well, very
Western Christian churchy language.
Yeah, which, and the way he uses it sometimes makes me go, I'm confused.
But you know him well enough to know he's certainly not.
Well, now I do, but it took me
a
minute to check myself because I was instantly ready to close off and I don't want to listen to him. But then I realized I am being closed-minded right now. I need to figure out why I'm feeling this way. What is it within me that's not willing to just hear? It's not going to hurt anything to just hear him. And I end up really loving what he's saying and relating to it even. But
and he's a person that loves what the true allegory, symbolism of Christianity actually speaks about it and understands the difference. So
he really points out the beauty. And
when you do, you can embrace those things without it feeling like a big scam.
Right. And I think I was so used to hearing the big scam, I'm like, wait a minute, what's he saying? I'm so confused.
Right.
But I just am saying it's a matter of checking yourself and realizing what's intuition and what is emotion. And what I was feeling was definitely emotion and religious trauma.
Yeah. So Anil Seth on metacognition, he's a neuroscientist focused on consciousness and predictive processing, discusses metacognition in the context of self-awareness, which is a lot of what we've been talking about. Being
self-aware.
Confidence in perceptions, right? And higher order theories of consciousness. He links it to the brain's ability to model and monitor its own states in perceptual decision-making. Key ideas from his research. Metacognition is a measure of confidence in one's own perceptual or cognitive decisions. And what you'll find is people, especially when you can almost hear the fear behind it, or you can hear the ego behind it.
Insecurity.
And the ones that are insecure, they get really adamant about it, and it's hard to talk, or they won't listen, kind of a thing. And they may be dead on right, but maybe not. They're just saying emotionally it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Right.
So, in higher order theories of consciousness, a form of metacognition may play a role in conscious experience itself, the brain generating self models and monitoring its predictions about the world and body. Thinking about thinking about your own emotions, thinking about where they come from, thinking about how they're hindering you or perhaps helping you. Right? Thinking about where your ego jumps in with those emotions. And in order for us to stop hurting, stop being fearful, stop being insecure, we can overcompensate those things with aggressive rhetoric or otherwise, right? That's what happens. His recent work explores how metacognitive failures contribute to issues like fatigue or depression via disrupted self-monitoring of internal states. Think about that.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Depressive thoughts, without metacognition about why you're thinking, why your emotion is what it is, feeling the way you're feeling, and otherwise, without doing that, and you just keep running through those cycles, it creates fatigue, depression, disrupts self-monitoring of internal
Anxiety,
states.
I would guess it creates anxiety.
And we've all been there.
Because we're not living in the now.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Summary of these two, then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Both researchers treat metacognition as profoundly important. Sternberg as a core executive process in adaptive intelligence. Seth is tied to conscious self-modeling and perceptual awareness.
Those are good.
It's
we'll
very
reference
important.
Them in the comment.
It's very important, and it's a practiced skill, especially when you've got somebody that you're trying to have a discussion with blowing the top, so to speak.
I have loved hearing you and your mom have these deep discussions, and I'm a part of them sometimes, but I so respect, because you don't necessarily agree on everything, which is a beautiful thing, because there's still so much love and respect. And if there's maybe a misinterpretation of, let's say, a text message, the relationship has allowed for that to be remedied. And you know what? I didn't mean it like that. I see how that sounded or whatever. And I so respect that, that relationship that's really forming a new, beautiful relationship, and how you all are communicating about these things, because she wants to know, and you guys both have questions that you're more than willing to have that conversation. It's not something that's been forced by any means, but I just want to say that I think that that's how it should be, is being willing to have the conversation, even in disagreement, and consider, and she said many times, I'm going to pray on that. I'm going to meditate on that. That's wonderful. That's what you should do, And
she's a beautiful human.
Yeah.
We all fuck up. We all make mistakes. There's nothing that would prevent me from making sure she was always cared for.
No, I've learned so much from just listening to you. I was able to tell her that, I so respect the way you both communicate. It's really a beautiful thing. It hasn't always been perfect. No relationship is, but that's how it should be. That's how we should be able to communicate with one another, is with respect and love, even in disagreement.
Yeah.
And even when it scares us,
You wrap that well. You wrap that up well, my love.
Thank you.
So that's an hour and 2 minutes.
Yay, we did it. And I probably, we did it on a weird day, but our next live is Wednesday at 6. Again, we're going to be Wednesday and Saturdays. You can always watch it the next day, but we love to hear from you. We read all the comments. So even if you're not watching this live, we want to hear from you. Leave comments, leave us your thoughts. What are some maybe conspiracy theories that you've had to think about and consider, or that maybe came true, or that maybe you were judged for? Not just conspiracy theories, but just thinking, just thoughts and new ways of thinking that maybe you lost relationships because of. We want to hear from you. So also, should I mention, don't forget, our sponsor is Holistic and Wild.
Oh.
Yeah. So I want to call it a she. They are linked in our description always. That is how we create an income. And there is a special code that is a coupon code for anyone who orders through the Etsy store, and for all of our subscribers. So that's within the description as well. And we'll link and reference all these gentlemen that we talked about tonight. And yeah, so we'll see everyone Wednesday at
Holistic
6.
and Wild. Perfect for cold, dry skin that
It's
needs
so
some moisture.
good. And I don't think she's
scents that are manly, not just ladily.
Yes. Oh, I love when you wear cedar moon. I love when you wear our essential oil rollers, which frankincense, and then earthing is one of my favorite ones that you wear. Or is
With
it
holistic and wild? You can still smell like a dude.
Yes, we make sure of it. But thank you, everyone. Yeah, that's all we
Okay.
have to say. So
We gone.
we gone.
We're gonna go behind the
out.
pallets now.
We're gonna go make a shake.
Pretty sure. Whew, it's dark back here.
Yes, that was a good one. Very
that feels
thankful.
pretty good.